So, peace. What's happening, good people? This gift here for Pay Us No Mind. And today we are talking about the socioeconomic element when it comes to like music marketing and how it factors into people's ability to take the actions that you want them to take, like streaming your music on Spotify and things to that effect, right? So y'all know how we get down, man. I run my mouth about the topic at hand for the first 15, 20 minutes, provided that we don't have any technical difficulties, right? Then we get into the live chat where everybody get to ask questions and all of that good stuff. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. If you have subscribed to the channel, click the bell icon so you can get notified the next time we go live. If you got topics or whatever you want me to cover, you can tweet me, you can Instagram me, all of that good stuff, man, as we filter through the topic. Right now, real quick, I wanted to just touch on some stuff because it's like you got these NFT projects that I'm a part of, man. Like Warner Music Group right now has something that they're doing where artists can submit for inclusion in their playlists in the metaverse. So I'm gonna share that right now. Let me check that out. Let's see. So y'all see this? Right? This is a playlist that Warner Music Group put together called Sounds of the Metaverse. And it's a playlist that plays in like their sandbox game. So it's on Spotify, but it's also in that in the sandbox game. So when people are like in their virtual world, walking around doing whateverness, this is the music that's playing. And like every 2 weeks, they open up the playlist for submissions and they got like a rotating board of members that vote on these songs and stuff like that. And I have the ability to submit songs for inclusion in this playlist. Now, y'all know I don't do music no more. So it's like, this is more so for y'all. So if anybody wants to submit music for this playlist, reach out to me. I'm gonna probably put like a form up or something like that on the website where artists can go and submit music for me to submit on their behalf to this playlist. Right? So it's like just going through it so y'all can see where's the form? Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I could grab this link. There it is. Yeah, this is the form that they have for you to submit music to. So it's like I would have to submit music on the artist's behalf, right? And then there's also this too, this probably a label thing, which is another Warner Music Group project that I have access to. So with this particular thing, probably a label. Now, probably a label has, I got to sign in here, but this whole thing is they are a Warner Music Group, kind of like NFT label, where artists can submit NFT projects for like financial assistance and for like marketing and promotion assistance from Warner Music Group. You know, the only requirement I believe is that you have to use their IP. So you got to be using like music from an NFT project that they did, or music from like or like a image from an NFT project they did, or something with like something from a release from a Warner Music Group artist. Now I got one of their projects called Stickman. So if anybody's a producer, reach out to me because they give you like stems, and then you can take those stems and chop them up however you want and make something new. And then you could take that new thing and submit to them for like assistance and promotion and stuff like that. So that's something that I got for anybody that want to participate in that. Now, diving into the topic at hand, after all of that good stuff, like I said again, anybody that wants to take advantage of any of that stuff, you can reach out to me, feel free. But yeah, man, I mean, diving into the topic at hand, right? So I don't want to root this in like basically like research where you're saying, hey, you know, this report points to this and this study points to that. So this is going to be more anecdotal, right? From my personal experience, my life growing up, right? And I mean, I don't think it's a secret at this point to say that I grew up poor. You know, I grew up in poverty. I grew up in an area where people didn't have money. You know, a lot of the people in the place where I live were on welfare, public assistance. And the thing that was interesting about it was that as poor as we were all trying to hide how poor we were from each other. So everybody was trying to make it seem as if they had more money than everybody else, even though we were all poor and struggling. So if somebody got caught with food stamps in the supermarket, everybody would laugh at them and snap on them and all this other stuff. And then they would wait for everybody to leave so they could go in and spend their food stamps. So it was like a crazy kind of thing. But what I learned in that environment and in that kind of ecosystem was how a lot of times people who are in that position value the external, right? Value perception, want people to look at them and think a certain kind of way because it's like they know what the reality that they're dealing with is. So it's like the only thing that they really feel like they can kind of like get some degree of like confidence or value is in the external. So a lot of times the people where I was growing up at, they would focus more on the way that they dressed. So it was like your sneakers, your clothes, your anything that people saw, jewelry, your car, things to that effect. Because it was like when people saw those things, they thought you were somebody. They thought you had money. They thought you were like a big shot to some effect. So you felt better about yourself because of the way you felt like people felt about you. So it's kind of like what's the site the guy's name, Charles Horton Cooley, I believe, right? The Looking Glass Self. I am not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am, right? So it's kind of like that type of thing where you're looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, here's how these people perceive me. So everybody was more so focused on that external stuff. So it's like a lot of times people had situations where it's like despite the fact that they had this jewelry on that cost all of this money, and the fact that they had these clothes that cost all this money, and they had all of this, these sneakers, these Jordans, and all of this other stuff that cost money, Gucci, all of these things, when it came down to the come down, right, a lot of these folks were like living with their child's mother, or like had like multiple women that they were living off of, right? Women had multiple dudes that they was living off of, and they really didn't have any money themselves, you know, but it was all about getting whatever they could to present something outward to the world, right? Now, when you are looking at it from the standpoint of music marketing, if that is your audience, then you got to understand that for those types of people, spending $10 on a Spotify subscription ain't what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Spending $10 on an Apple Music subscription ain't what's happening. Because yeah, people might look at it and be like, what's $10? But to people who don't have disposable income like that, and also let's factor in the element of habits, right? Like people who are cigarette smokers, people who are weed smokers, people who drink beer, people who take those types of actions, right? Like for those people, they are always conscious of having enough money to buy their beer, enough money to buy their alcohol, enough money to buy those things. So it's like, would they rather spend $10 on a Spotify subscription or a pack of cigarettes? $10 on a Spotify subscription or a bag of weed? $10 on a Spotify subscription, you know, so those types of things factor into it as well, right? Like what am I going to spend my money on? What do I feel value in, right? So it's like you got the habit aspect of it and where people want to spend it, people want to spend their money on from the standpoint of habits. Then you got the aspect of just, you know, value, right? And what makes people feel valued. And Spotify and Apple Music and those things don't fit into none of those categories, because that is a personal thing. You have your headphones on listening to Spotify or whatever. Nobody else knows what the hell you listen to when you go home. Same thing with movies. So it's like, again, a lot of people that have those situations where, right, they got fly clothes and all this other stuff. Some of them, they go home and they're using the Amazon Fire Stick, right, where they have that app that allows you to watch movies for free, like bootleg movies or whatever. It's almost like a form of bootleg movies, but it's like they're not paying for Netflix or nothing like that, because it's like, well, nobody sees this. This doesn't make me feel like anybody, right? So when it comes to those types of things, if I could get it for free, I'm gonna get it for free. So it's like a lot of times within a certain group of people, going by socioeconomics, right? People within a certain income bracket, people who live in certain areas, things of that nature, it comes down to, okay, not Spotify, but if they're on Spotify, they're using it for free, and if they're not on Spotify, then they're on YouTube or they're on SoundCloud. And this is like breaks down to like when you look at music, right? And the type of songs that kind of pop on these platforms, like you look at Lorde, who was like the artist that blew up on Spotify first. She was like the first artist that people really hung their hat on with Spotify and said, hey, these playlists can blow an artist up. And when you look at the type of audience that Lorde and that song Royals fed, it was more so young professionals. It was like the people who were like in that Gary Vee kind of crowd, not so much the group of people who were like, hey, we rich and famous, but the people who were more so identify as starting from the dirt and not having nothing and building something for themselves and all of that other stuff, because it's like, hey, we're not royals. We weren't born with a silver spoon in our mouth. We got it from the dirt. We grind it, all of this different type of stuff. So it was feeding young professionals, people that might be working at Facebook, people who might be working at a bank, people who had those types of jobs, and those types of people have enough disposable income to be able to afford a Spotify subscription. And then you look at the artists that popped off with mumble rap and how that kind of blew up on SoundCloud, right? And the fact that SoundCloud is free. So if you're talking about a whole bunch of teenagers, young kids who don't have money to be able to afford to subscribe to anything or buy music, yeah, SoundCloud. Gotta pay nothing. Stream the music whenever I want, how often I want. Great place. Same thing with Dat Piff and the mixtape websites, and how a lot of hip hop kind of popped off from those mixtape platforms. Mixtapes were free downloads. You didn't have to pay for it. So it's like for those audiences, they could go there, they could stream the music. So it's like a lot of those groups of people, yeah, they're not going to spend money on the music from the standpoint of buying it or from the standpoint of paying for streaming platforms where you're getting premium streams from them. But what they do is they are the drivers of culture. Right? So it's like that group are the ones that make shit cool for the most part. They make stuff cool. That's what that group do. Everybody that got money is looking at those people to establish what is the next best thing. So those guys are the ones that make stuff hot, and then everybody else kind of picks up on it and runs with it from there. So it's like you got artists that put up free mixtapes, put up stuff on SoundCloud, and then those things blew up. And then it went from there to Spotify and all these other platforms based on the kind of the spark that was driven by that group that didn't have the money to spend. This is also why TikTok amongst young people is such a big platform for like breaking artists and stuff like that. It's free. People don't got to spend no money to use it. So it's like they come on there, they find artists, they say, oh, this guy's cool or whatever have you. But that's something that artists need to be aware of when they're marketing, because a lot of times, man, people look at campaigns. Like somebody can come and say, hey, I ran a Spotify ad campaign and look at the results that I got. And it's not always cut and dry from the standpoint of just being like, okay, well, this guy advertised and here's what he got, right? Yeah, it's not always a matter of, okay, this guy advertised and here's what he got. It's like, okay, well, what style of music does he do? And who does that music feed? Right? Like when artists are looking at their stats, a lot of times they're looking at demographics, age, gender, location. And that a lot of times don't tell you much, because somebody can be in a different income bracket, right? Like if somebody is 17, but they're coming from a household where the parents make $100,000 a year. The parents might have an Apple Music subscription, like a family subscription that kid can use, or a Spotify family subscription that kid can use, versus a 17-year-old that lives in the hood that, you know what I'm saying, is dealing with a different type of situation. And they might not have any kind of subscription or anything to that effect. So yeah, it feeds into those types of things, right? Like popular music or music that's easy to drive a lot of streams for is like EDM, indie, electronic music that kind of feeds into people who are more so into technology. And you look and you say, okay, well, which groups can afford technology? Which groups are more likely to have a computer, right? And all of this different type of stuff, high speed internet, you know, different types of things, right? Like a lot of people have those things, but a lot of people, let's be real here. A lot of people don't, you know, in America, there's still a lot of people who are not like online to the effect that like how I am or you might be, you know, like I remember when I first moved to Delaware, that kind of blew my mind. We mean, because, you know, we stream movies online and stuff, going to the supermarket out there, and they had like the red box thing out there for people to rent DVDs. And I was like, yo, people still rent DVDs? And it was like, yeah, for sure. People was getting out the car, going to the red box, you know, putting money in, getting DVDs out, stuff like that, because people didn't have laptops and desktops and stuff like that. Most people were like, if they were on the internet, it was through their phone, right? Because with the phone, you know, you could get a phone for free. Effectively, you could go sign up, a 2-year agreement somewhere, they give you the phone for free, or you pay a monthly fee, right? You pay a month to month, $20 a month. You don't have to spend $1,000 to get that computer. So it's just like a different type of wave, you know? But yeah, that is something that artists should consider when they're promoting your music, when you're promoting your music, because it factors into it. So you running an advertising campaign, your goal might be to get people to Spotify, but if the type of people who are the initial group of people that would respond to your music, because a lot of times, particularly with hip hop, right, it's those other groups don't really feed into you until somebody else says you're hot. And those artists, those fans that be the ones that get stuff started might not be subscribers to any of these platforms. So you advertising and you want to get people to Spotify to save and playlist and all of this different type of stuff, but your audience doesn't have a subscription there. So you're advertising, you spend all of this money, you drive traffic to Spotify, but because they don't have a paid subscription, they can't stream your music on demand. So the most they can do is save it to their library. And saving it to their library means little, because basically there is no button for them to play their library. They can play their likes, and their likes is going to shuffle. If they put it on shuffle, it's going to cycle through it based on the songs that they listen to most often, which are going to be the songs that they get fed the most often, because it's like Spotify will be serving up all of these discovery playlists and stuff like that. That's going to be serving up songs that are based on what everybody else listens to. So the most popular records are going to be served up to them most often. So those records are going to be the ones that they stream most. And when they go and play their likes or whatever, and they put that on shuffle, it's going to play the songs that they've been listening to the most, which are not going to be yours because you're not on those other playlists, unless they actively listen to your music a lot. Like they go and they search you out on Spotify, hit the play button and stream your song. If they don't do that, then they don't get you and shuffle. So it's like you get all of these saves and then you don't really get any streams from your library or nothing to that effect, because people can't stream your music because they have a free subscription. They have a free account rather, you know, and a free account means they have no control over what they hear. They can play a playlist, they can shuffle an album, and if that album has, I think, less than 10 songs or whatever have you, they'll be plugging in songs from other albums and stuff like that. So it's like people who are on the free tier have no ability. They don't have any ability. Yeah, they don't have any ability to focus and do those types of things, right? So that's something that you really got to take into consideration when you're marketing your music. And a lot of times, man, you know, because people, like I said again, people want what they want. So you want to get people to Spotify. And I mean, I think the reason why, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I don't want to make it seem as if I am the know-all, know all or whatever. I don't really know anything really. You know what I'm saying? I have my information that's based on the research that I do and all of that different type of stuff. But I'm not going to sit here and make it seem as if my word is law, right? But it's like when I listen to artists and damn, I lost my train of thought. Let me see if I can get it back. Yeah, so I'm like with artists, man, and everybody trying to get their music out there, man. A lot of times artists want to get on Spotify for the editorial playlist, right? And the ability or the possibility that their song could get picked up by the editorial playlist. So that's my suspicion on why a lot of artists dedicate themselves to trying to blow up on Spotify. It's the editorial playlist. And it's thinking, okay, well, all right, well, here's how, because everybody that talks about Facebook advertising talks about triggering the algorithm to get on the editorial playlist. So artists are thinking, okay, well, I'm going to get in, I'm going to get these streams, and then I'm going to get on some other playlists through playlist pitching or whatever, and then hopefully it triggers, and then I get on the Spotify editorial playlist, and then like a Disney commercial, where all your dreams come true, right? And now it's like, oh, you're successful now. You're a successful artist. You got on an editorial playlist. Now that rarely happens, you know, not from the standpoint of getting on the editorial playlist, but from the standpoint of blowing up. Like I know a lot of artists that have been on those editorial playlists, and it helps you get exposure, right? Like it helps more people discover your music, but it doesn't really like change much outside of getting streams, right? Because it's like at the end of the day, when it comes to really building something with your music, it takes more than just people hearing your music. It takes a lot more than that. You know, editorial playlists on Spotify are very similar to radio airplay. You get a song on radio, it's like if people don't say, wow, what's that? That's an L. You know, that's why it don't really make sense for people to spend a whole bunch of money on a radio campaign unless they like are sure that they have a hit record. Because if you don't have a hit record, you know, all it really becomes is just like something to, it's like a highlight. Maybe you could say, hey, remember that time my song got played on the radio? But outside of that, if people don't go, oh my God, what's that? Who's that? It's a loss. And that's the same way with Spotify editorial playlists and Spotify playlists in general. If people are listening to that playlist and your song comes on and they don't go, oh my God, what's that? Who's that? It's a loss, you know? So it's like advertising gives you a measure of recourse where if people don't say, oh my God, what's that? Who's that? You can like remarket to them and things of that nature. But the reality is, if that's not happening with the music, it's going to be an uphill battle anyway, right? Like that's the main thing, you know, aside from just the socioeconomic aspect of it, because it's like artists will advertise their music on Facebook and be like, okay, well, this campaign was unsuccessful because it didn't drive Spotify streams. But the reality of it is, if that ad, no matter where you advertise, if you advertise on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, if it drove people to listen to your music, like you got people that watched your YouTube video from the ad. You got people that listened and watched the video on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever, right? You got thousands of people that heard that song. If the song went nowhere from that, right? Nobody shared it. Nobody really like took it upon themselves to go and find it on these streaming platforms on their own or take any action toward it. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes to the song. So a lot of times you have artists that want to put good money after bad, where it's like, all right, well, I put this song out there. People ain't really rocking with it like that, but I want to force the issue. How can I make it work anyway? So then it's like, well, keep trying stuff. And then it's like, you might find a way to get people to Spotify or wherever have you to stream it. But same thing happens, right? People go there, they listen to it, they don't like it, it don't move nowhere, you know? So you don't end up with no kind of algorithmic impact or nothing like that because people just don't like the song. So you could twist people arm and get them to Spotify, but if they don't like the song, you're going to lose. You know, you can advertise on Facebook, TikTok, wherever have you. And the bottom line is, if the song is getting heard, good things should happen. If it's a song that's moving people. And it comes down to making the right kind of song. So it's like going back to the socioeconomic stuff. It's like despite the fact that people was putting music on SoundCloud and DatPiff and mixtape websites and wasn't making no money off of it, they blew up off of free music, giving the music away for free to people who talked, so people that heard it, loved it, talked about it, shared it with friends, spread the word. Those artists blew up, and then they made money touring, selling merch, things of that nature, right? So it comes down to making great music and then exposing that music, right? But the great music part is unavoidable. That's like the first and foremost thing. If it's not a great song, then it ain't really gonna get you nowhere, right? But yeah, the socioeconomic aspect of it impacts the results that you get when you are trying to get people to take actions that are centered around money. You want people to buy something. You want people to go to a place where people have to pay to access something. You are going to be less likely to have the kind of impact that somebody else might have that is serving a demographic that got more money than a demographic that you're serving, or the people in a certain economic circumstance that your music might be serving. And that's something to keep in mind and to be aware of, right? That's no different than you have a restaurant that might open up in the ghetto, right? And if they're charging like Soho prices for food, ain't nobody shopping there, because it's like, well, damn, dude, you trying to charge me what? How much? Man, you crazy. So it's like you got to understand where your store is at and price things in your store according to where you're at, So I'm going to dive into the chat room, see who in the building, man. If anybody got questions, comments, whatever have you, I answer them. If not, man, then we just get up out of here, and that'll be that. Yeah, man. Big Bank Reed, man. Thanks for the donation, brother, man. Much appreciated, man. Always. So we got production. Nikos, what up? Long distance traveler was good. Tucavelli, what up? Yeah, man. Big Bank Reed was good, man. Yeah, yo. So we had to settle all of this audio stuff. I'm going to have to go in and edit that, cut that out, man. So when people check it out, it's like, what's going on? I can't even hear this guy. What's going on with this dude, man? Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, I've been running campaigns lately, and I just really feel like YouTube, and I think y'all heard me talk about this before, but YouTube is like, you could build a whole ecosystem on there. So I've been kind of like working on, I would guess, is it like a book, a workbook or something like that? But like something that is a bunch of articles and videos kind of like going over how to connect the dots with YouTube. Because it's like, it can be really effective because it's a very unique platform. From the standpoint that if you are promoting your music on Spotify, and not Spotify, but Facebook and Instagram and those types of things, those aren't music platforms. So people can engage with your music there, right? Like they can like it, share it, but like listening to it, like how they would listen to a song on Spotify isn't something that they could do there. They don't make music. It's not like a home for music. So it's like you try to drive people from those places to a streaming platform, like a Spotify or an Apple Music or something like that, to get people to listen, right? And the thing about it is, when you are advertising, especially because you're spending money, you don't know what's happening on Spotify. So what's happening on Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that is completely disconnected from what's happening on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things of that nature. So the audience that you have there that you can access and communicate with can be an entirely different audience from the audience that's streaming your music on Spotify and Apple Music and things of that nature. Completely different audience, different location, different age group, different interests, the whole nine. And a lot of times this is why artists kind of like be struggling when they be promoting their music on Instagram and it's not translating to streams and stuff like that on those other platforms because of that fact. And thank you for the donation, Long Distance Traveler, man. We will see what's up with the birds. I know they might be making noise, right? But yeah, this is why we you advertise and you don't know what's happening there. You don't know what's happening on Spotify, Apple Music, things of that nature. And the people that you have access to on those platforms, on social media platforms that you can re-engage with, might not be the people listening to your music. And then when you have people on Spotify and Apple Music, you can't reach them on those platforms. So it's like you can't reach them there. But YouTube kind of changes the game in that regard, because you can have like remarketing lists for people that subscribe to your channel, people that like your videos, people that take actions that indicate that they like your music, like your actual music, and also target people that be watching your music videos and stuff like that. So there's that capability there for remarketing and advertising to the audience that's consuming your music on YouTube. But in addition to that, there are also all of these other things like subscribers and the community tab and the description box and all of these things that artists can use to reinforce their brand message to listeners, right? So I just been thinking a lot about that, and some of these campaigns that I've been running for artists where we getting not streams, but we getting people to subscribe to the channel and playlist the video, and you're seeing the impact of it on the other videos on the channel and things of that nature, man, you know, and just the importance of controlling the content on your YouTube channel, because it's like a lot of people like to use Vivo, but Vivo, you know, you can't do remarketing with Vivo. Also, your video views don't count towards your watch time, which is also a critical thing, you know. So there's all these other things that factor into the whole YouTube thing, where I'm like, YouTube, yeah, this might be like something that, you know, everybody needs to pay more attention to and maybe even focus on. So that's like my next thing that I'm going to be doing. And that's going to be like the next thing on the Pay Us No Mind blog. So anybody that want to tap into the blog, you can check that out, man. payusnomind.com. You'll be rerouted to the Substack. Sign up for the newsletter, man, so you can get emailed when we do these next drops and stuff. Like I said, again, I'm starting like a podcast where me and my wife, who is fashion school graduate, right? Majored in photography, been a photographer for years, worked for the Source, stuff like that, man, where she just goes over album covers and music videos and breaks down the lighting and how those things factor into representing the song, you know, how it connects, how it makes you feel about the song, things of that nature, to inspire artists to think deeper about their visuals, right? So as always, y'all can hit me up at payusnomind on Instagram, at payusnomind on Twitter, payusnomind@gmail.com. This is Gift signing off. Pay Us No Mind. Peace, good people. One, y'all be good out there.